Thank you. Thank you, Charlie. Appreciate that music, how touching that was. Thank you for the reading, Kevin, and your creativity. Appreciate it. So we're talking about, this month, we're talking about transformation in action.
Help me out here.
Okay, perfect. All right. Transformation in action, and today's message is entitled, Heaven Can't Wait. Ernest Holmes said, I think this is one of the we believe statements, and he wrote this 75 years ago. He said, we believe that heaven is within us and that we experience it to the degree that we become conscious of it. And we're looking at this today. How do we create heaven on earth? You know, Jesus told us heaven is within. We keep hearing this. And so what kind of responsibility do we have to really create a heaven on earth? You might think, do we do this? Is there a formula? Is there a procedure? Is there a plan? Or is it more of an attitude and an approach or a perspective? And I'm going to talk about perspective a little bit today because so much in life has to do with our perspective. I might have a different perspective than somebody else. So here's an example. Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson were out on a camping trip. And they were laying on the ground looking up at the sky, and Sherlock Holmes says to Dr. Watson, Watson, look up in the sky and tell me what you see. So Watson looks up, he says, well, I see the heavens, of course. And what does that tell you? Sherlock said to him. Well, he wanted to impress Sherlock, so he says, astronomically, it tells me there are millions of galaxies and potentially billions of planets. Meteorologically, it tells me we're going to have a beautiful day tomorrow. And theologically, it tells me that God and the universe are infinite. And he thought that was pretty wise. And he paused for a minute, and then he said to Sherlock, what does it tell you? He paused for a minute and he said, well, it tells me somebody stole our tent. Things are a matter of perspective. And we have that in all things that we look at in life. Creating heaven on earth is a matter of perspective and attitude and approach. So we're going to look at a couple things today. Where is heaven? And then where are you? Where are we dwelling? So where is heaven? In Luke 17:20 through 21, it says, once having been asked by the Pharisees when the kingdom of God would come, Jesus replied, the kingdom of God does not come by observation, neither will they say, behold, it is here, behold, it is there. For behold, the kingdom of God is within you. In New Thought tradition, that's what we are, New Thought. New Thought tradition is not a place. We don't believe heaven is a place, but a state of consciousness. In the Metaphysical Bible Dictionary, it describes heaven as a state of consciousness in which the soul and the body are in harmony with divine mind. And we talk about that every week here. We are one. As we just talked about, we are one with that power that created us. And as much as we are connected with that one that created us, that is our heaven on earth. Kind of in a nutshell. I hate to spoil the whole sermon, but that's it. We connecting our oneness with that power that created everything and everyone, getting in touch with that. That is what creates heaven on earth. The Science of Mind textbook said heaven is a state of happiness. Heaven is within. It revolves about us. It is the result of that atmosphere of conviction in which our thought awakens within us. Heaven is not a place, a locality with streets of gold and gates of pearl. It's a real state of being. And even though Jesus said that the kingdom of heaven is within, not out there somewhere along the line, that message got lost in Christianity. And a lot of us have that Christian background where basically we're told you die and you go to heaven. That was kind of sort of the message, and it was a place, very much a place. And yet, New Thoughters are not the only one that are talking about this idea that heaven isn't a place. August 1999, an article appeared in the Tucson newspaper. They were quoting the Pope at the time, and I believe the Pope at the time was Pope Paul II. He said, "Heaven is neither an abstraction nor a physical place in the clouds, but a living and personal relationship of union with the Holy Trinity." Just what we're talking about. It is our relationship with that power within. When we have that, that is heaven on earth. So if we define heaven as a living personal relationship, union with God, state of consciousness in which the soul and the body are in harmony with divine mind, it's a state of happiness, a real state of being, then where are you dwelling? Got to think about this a little bit. How much of this heaven on earth are you taking advantage of? Are you practicing? We need to make a decision. How are we going to do this? How close are we going to get to this power within? Heaven can't wait. Heaven is within us, and that we experience to the degree that we become conscious of it. Got to become conscious of it. That's the degree to which we'll experience heaven on earth. We got to make that decision. So when do we make that decision? What's going to cause us to make that decision? When we've suffered enough, when we've had enough pain, when we're no longer bemoaning the fact that, I had a terrible upbringing. My parents weren't very good parents. I had terrible bosses. I didn't, all these strikes that were against me. When we quit thinking like that and just focus on getting in touch with that power within, that's when we've had enough. That's when we can turn to that power. I read the statement. This, to me, if you can put your arms around this right now, you can go home, because this is adequate for a lesson to learn today. You are a walking, talking, breathing manifestation of God, powerful beyond your wildest imagination, whole, perfect, and complete in every way. If we can embrace that idea, that truth, that's all we need. That will make our lives really pleasant if we can do that. I'm going to repeat it, and you're going to hear it again, because, again, I think it's so powerful. You are a walking, talking, living, breathing manifestation of God, powerful beyond your wildest imagination, whole, perfect, and complete in every way. So when you've suffered enough thinking about, how terrible my upbringing was, I got abandoned by my husband, my parents were not that great, when we're done being paralyzed by fear of what's going to happen tomorrow, am I going to have enough, am I going to be enough, am I going to know enough, when we get past that, when we've had enough, that's when we will really experience this heaven on earth. I no longer need to be controlled by this kind of fear, these kind of ideas, false ideas, because that's not who I am. It's not who any of us are. I got to thinking about this idea. Jesus said, heaven is within. And I thought to myself, well, what of those people who have died? Where's heaven for them? They don't have the body anymore. So where is heaven for them? Jesus said, heaven is within, and somewhere along the way that message, got mixed up and heaven became a place in the sky. We go where we die. This was many years ago, 25 years ago or so. My brother-in-law died, and I'm up in Hinckley, and I'm in the mortuary, the place where the visitation is held. And Archie's in a casket in this room, and we're all kind of just mingling around, talking to each other. And Archie had two grandchildren. They were identical twins, and I'm holding one of them. Which one? I don't know. I couldn't tell the difference, but I'm holding one. He's probably 2.5 years old or 3 or something like that. He could talk a little bit, but just a little kid, little skinny little kid, and I'm holding him, and we're standing quite near the casket, and he's like, "Grandpa's sick. Grandpa died." And I said to him, "Well, Grandpa is now in heaven." And he looks around and he said, "So this is heaven." Talk about perspective. And to me, death is such a mystery, just such a mystery. Some people say they've experienced it. They've had these what do you call them, life after death, near-death experiences. And I know some people who have had them, and it's pretty interesting to hear them talk about it. I've read the books. I know Alicia has read several of those books lately, which I'm gonna ask you more about those books, because I'm really interested. I'm interested in death, because I think in our society we don't talk about it or think about it enough compared to other countries. The book that was so meaningful to me, one of the books that was so meaningful to me, was the autobiography of a yogi by Yogananda. Yogananda was the yogi who brought meditation to the United States and introduced us really to the Indian kind of meditation. This was in the 1920s, I think. And in this book, he talks, India and most countries are a lot more spiritual than we are here. I mean, the United States, I think we're kind of known for, we go to church on Sunday, we listen to the word, and then we go about our business. But, I don't think our country is known for our deep spirituality. Other countries are. They live it. They live it every day, and certainly India is one of them. So this Yogananda writes this book, and to me, it increased my faith probably more than any book I've read. And the reason is it was just so believable. He starts the story from when he's a little kid, and he wanted to be a yogi, and he had to prove to his brother that God was answering his prayers. God was looking out for him. As he became an adult, he had a master, and a master, I think, would be kind of like a mentor or a minister, but somebody he was very close to, who he really loved. And this master, as I recall from the book, was unbelievable. He was kind of like a Jesus figure. He would be teaching a class in one place, and somebody else said, "Well, he couldn't have been in that class because I was with him on the river." This kind of really interesting stuff about his master. But this Yogananda was out of town, and his master died. And in India, they've got quite a ritual for death. It's a big deal. And he missed it. And you know how that is? If you've ever missed somebody's funeral, it's really hard to embrace the death. It's hard to go on. It's hard to grasp the reality that this person is gone. I think that's why we have funerals, so that we can accept what went on. And he missed that piece. So he was grieving, and it was difficult for him to go on with his life because he was just heartsick all the time. So he's out of town again. He's in a motel room. And lo and behold, here stands his master in flesh and blood. And Yogananda just about had a heart attack. He fell to his knees. He started sobbing, and he was just going out of his mind, and he crawls over to his master. He grabs him around the legs and just sobs and how glad I am to see you. And his master finally said, you know what, Yogananda, get up, for crying out loud, get a grip. He said, you know, we talked about what death is. You go through one door into another. That's what I did. I'm not flesh and blood. I came here to give you a little punch in the arm. You got to get a grip. You got to go on with your life. What you're doing is no good for anybody. And so they had this talk, and this master of his said, I'm now in another realm, not in flesh and blood in that realm. I'm in another realm, and I'm teaching. I'm going on. I continue doing. Life is expansive. And Ernest Holmes always said that too. Life is expansive. Ernest didn't believe in reincarnation because he thought you can't come back, you got to keep going. Neither here nor there, but this guy said this is what he was doing in this other realm. So to me, that book was just amazing. It increased my faith about what God can do for me in the here and now and about the hereafter. Joel Goldsmith lived from 1892 to 1964. He was a spiritual leader, a mystical writer. We study his stuff in our circles. He wrote a book called The Infinite Way, and here's what he said. There is no death. There is only a transition to another dimension of consciousness where the soul continues its unfoldment. Now, when my late husband died, when Gary died in 2019, the minister at his funeral said, I told her how much it meant to me. She said, I don't know where I got that. Don't know where it came from. She said, Gary is now experiencing greater glory, deeper peace, and a blossoming of his potential. I'm telling you that, I took that one home, and it just comforted me so much, particularly that part about him blossoming, because I felt that he had not been blossoming in the last few years of his life, and it made me feel really good to think he's in another realm and just blossoming. And the other thing, I'm sure most of you have experienced this if you've lost a mother or father or spouse or something, when you say or do something and you think, oh my gosh, what would he or she think of that? You know, we're still kind of walking on eggshells a little bit, thinking we're going to offend them. And I'll say or do something, or something will happen, and I'll think, oh my gosh, Gary would be so upset. And then I think, no, he's not upset. He's in this realm of all peace and love now. And what a blessing that is to have that idea. I think about my mother. My mother was one of those people that never wanted to waste anything. If my sister or my sister-in-law would leave some yogurt at their house, and it was for the kids and they forgot it and she wasn't going to see them for a while, it was going to rot in the refrigerator. My mother did not like yogurt, but guess who ate the yogurt? You know, she didn't like to waste. So whenever I'm throwing anything out that's not quite green yet, I think, sorry, Mom, but then I have to remember, Mom's in a different realm. She's not worrying about that anymore. She is completely at peace. She's laughing at me. The real you never ceases. It's a movement of the soul to a fine vibration, more harmony with divine love. A vibrational reality of love, peace, unity, and wholeness. So the point of my message is, as the title says, heaven can't wait. We can take that oneness with that power within us right here and right now and have that peace, have that heaven right here on earth. Choosing to say, I've suffered enough, not going to do this anymore. I'm going to get in touch with that power within And just live with that light within. Have an experience of peace where there's chaos, and we can do this by just remembering what we have within us, that power. You are a walking, talking, living, breathing manifestation of God, powerful beyond your wildest expectations, whole, perfect, and complete in every way, and so it is. And I'm going to do a spiritual mind treatment, an affirmative prayer around these words, and I would invite you to join me. Take a deep breath. Just relax in your chair. Remember, there's nowhere else you need to be right now. And I know that there is but one power in the universe. It is the power of all good. It is peace and joy and love, harmony, order, balance. It has the perfect solution to any perceived dilemma in my life. And I know I am one with it. It experiences life through its creation. And it's our awareness of that power within which creates heaven on earth. And even though there are times in the past when I've somehow tried to fix my perceived problems all on my own, forgot about going within to tap into that power. I tried until I've suffered enough with my self-doubt and my fear. I now set an intention to remember my oneness with that perfect power within. And to the degree I do this, I experience heaven on earth. I remember I am a walking, talking, living, breathing manifestation of God, powerful beyond my wildest dreams. Whole, perfect, and complete in every way. I'm grateful for this. Grateful for this. This is the way the law works. I speak my word, and it is done unto me as I believe. And in gratitude, I release these words, knowing it is done, so it is.